Well, hello, how you doing? It's Phil Thatch and I am on the north shore of downtown Chattanooga, and I'm kind of hanging around down here. I just dropped Heather off at a hair salon. She's getting her hair cut, and while she's doing that, I'm going to take a few minutes and do some street photography of some sort with my Nikon Z FC. So stay tuned and we'll see what I can come up with. Started out doing kind of street photography. I took a photograph through the front door, or maybe that's the side door of this Trek bicycle shop, as this gentleman was about to open the door to let someone test out a bicycle. And then I took another photograph. Maybe this is the front door of the Trek bicycle shop. I thought the convertible Mercedes parked out front was really cool. And then I walked over to the kind of the main road, and I did some panning blurs. I think I was at 5.6 for this shot. Eventually I got down to 1.4 and I didn't like any of those, but this 5.6 one turned out okay. Well, it's getting dark during Heather's haircut, and I've kind of taken a fancy to this building over here, Edley's Barbecue, which is actually the other end of the former Signal Mill, which I've done some photography with this same lens. I'm using the TTArtisan 35 1.4. And I've walked around and done, a couple of pictures of things, done a few panning blurs, even some panning blurs at 1.4 with a manual focus lens. But right now I'm doing a somewhat long exposure f8 shot that I've got framed up. And I'm going to try to catch some cars going by in the foreground and maybe combine a few exposures. But right now there's no cars going by. Oh, speak again. Let me start this. Got a 2-second timer, and I'm doing 9 shots, 2 seconds each. And I was really hoping to get a number of cars going by. Ah, wait, here comes another one. This little BMW is going to roll through, and it's going to get an exposure of it as it passes by. So maybe I can make a few of these 9-shot shots and combine them together to have a number of light trails going by in front of the Edley's Barbecue side of the Signal Mill building. I'm continuing to work this composition right here, just making set after set of 9 photos. My exposure time started at 2 seconds, and now I'm all the way up to 5 seconds as it gets darker and darker. And it's not huge amounts of traffic like over here, but over here we've got the cool looking Edley's Barbecue building with some Christmas tree lights and that sort of thing. And speaking of Christmas lights, a vehicle drove by with Christmas tree lights on its roof rack, and I'm pretty sure I had an exposure going for that. But anyway, like, here comes a vehicle, and the camera was making a shot as it went by, and here comes a couple, and the camera's making a shot. Now I'm using the 2-second timer with it set to do 9 shots of 5 seconds each. So I'm going to work on this for a little while longer, and then we'll look at the shot. This ended up being my favorite photograph of the entire evening. Really like the way this turned out. I love that beautiful Signal Mill building that the barbecue restaurant and other things are in. And I don't even mind that there's some trees in the foreground blocking some of the building. Now, I made 80-something photographs while I was doing this session, and I picked my 7 favorites, and I stacked them and used the Photoshop lighten blend mode to make this photograph. And I thought it turned out pretty doggone good. I didn't use any of the longer exposure shots because they allowed the lights of the sign to get too bright. But I used some from as short as 1.6 to as long as 2.5 seconds to make this shot. And also, the lighting conditions were the very best during this particular one because, as you can see, it was blue hour. And I really love the combination of blue hour and light trails. I found another composition that's pretty cool. I've actually come across the street from the barbecue place, and now I'm on the road that has lots and lots of traffic. I'm up to 6 seconds now, and I'm doing the same strategy, and really kind of impressed with the images that the little TTArtisan 35 1.4 is putting out as I'm shooting with it now at f8 and long exposure light trails. I very much enjoy doing long exposure and light trail photography, especially this time of year. This is wintertime here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I think it's December the 22nd, and sunset today was like 5:40 p.m. So really early, and you can get out and do long exposure light trail photography without staying out all night long. You know, in the summertime to do this sort of stuff, sometimes you might not even be able to start until about 9:30 at night. But it's about 6 or so, 6:15 right now, and I'm just kind of hanging out, making some pictures while Heather gets her hair done, and we'll look at this shot from across the street from the signal mill right now. This is just a single image, not an exposure blend like I did in the previous shot, just one shot. And I like the way it turned out, but as you can see with the 6-second exposure, the sign on the building is a little bit too bright, and there's some other things that are too bright. It would have been better if I had used an ND filter to do an exposure this long. And you can see the huge 10 pointed star on the light, and there's 10 pointed stars on the taillights of the police car. Now the lights on the right hand side of the building have much more beautiful, smaller 10 pointed stars. And I've got a photograph coming later in the video that has amazing 10 pointed stars. I can't wait to show that to you soon. I'm trying another composition now. The building across the road is not at a straight angle with the road. It's kind of at well, kind of like my camera is now. And I'm trying to point the camera at the building at like a straight at it angle. But the road is still going to be cattywampus from the way I'm looking at the building. So, and also, you know, this lens, one of my least favorite things about this lens is it doesn't have a click for f11. It's got f8 and then it goes straight to f16. And I've been working at f8 all this time. And for this composition, I'm doing f16, which gives me 15-second exposure. So 9 15-second exposures to blend together with all this traffic should just be a ridiculous amount of light trails. As a matter of fact, I think one set of 9 ought to do it. And there goes my phone. I bet that's Heather saying that she's ready. Hello, is your haircut done? All right, let me finish this shot and I'll come pick you up. This 15-second shot, I only made 9 exposures of it, and I picked my 5 favorites and combined them together to make this shot. And as you can see, at f16, it kind of makes light stars out of everything. Even the letters on the sign on the side of the building there are kind of turning into light stars. And that I don't really like that much. I would have preferred to have shot this at f8 instead of f16. But in just a moment, we're going to see some really amazing light stars at f16 with this lens. Okay, I came to pick up Heather because her haircut was done. And the place where she got her haircut done was over here where all these cool lights are going across this alley. And I said, oh man, I got to take a picture of that. So I made a 10-second shot of this at f16 with the TTArtisan. This lens has 10 aperture blades, which seems like a lot for a lens that only costs $75. And you know, if a lens has an even number of aperture blades, it will produce the same number of points on its stars as it has aperture blades. But if you have a lens with an odd number of aperture blades, you multiply it times 2 to figure out how many points. Well, these 10 pointed stars on these lights over the alley at f16 I thought were absolutely amazing. Some of the best light stars I've ever seen, and this is with a $75 lens. All right, that's going to do it for me tonight, doing a little bit of nighttime photography with the TTArtisan 35mm f1.4 on the Nikon Z. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, give me a thumbs up. I sure would appreciate that. Subscribe, hit the bell if you want to see some more weird stuff like this, and as always, I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye from North Shore, downtown Chattanooga.